Hi, everyone. We are going to talk about the Patriotic Rhetoric Then and Now assignment. This is due at the end of the Revolutionary Americans module, and this module really focuses on the appeal behind foundational documents. So, those foundational documents like the Constitution and common sense are a little bit wordy, but what makes them really work is their specific rhetorical language. Rhetoric is really just the argumentative or the persuasive language that makes a reader want to do something or act on something. So, in this particular instance, our founding fathers and the authors of these different foundational documents wrote with rhetoric to encourage other colonists to basically commit treason or betray their home country of Great Britain in order to have their own freedom and create their own country, which is what we now know as the United States of America. So the rhetoric or the specific persuasive language that we find in these texts is really what we want to focus on for this assignment and in this module. So, for this assignment, you guys will be creating a poster where you are highlighting one rhetorical device that we learned about in the module. So, let's take a look at it. Down here in step 1, it says to choose 3 rhetorical devices. You are actually going to just choose one. Just one. If you would like to do more, you're absolutely welcome to do that, but you only will be graded on one of them. Okay? So you're going to choose any one of these from the list, and you're going to work with that for this assignment. Now, the next thing you're going to do, and I would really recommend you do this as you are working through the lessons, but you're going to find an example of that rhetorical device from the foundational document. So, the reason why I say it might be nice to do this as you're working through the lessons is if you say, all right, I would really like to do rhetorical question for this assignment. Well, as you're working through the lessons, you will very likely see a definition for and several examples of rhetorical question. And you can just copy and paste those into a separate Google Doc, or you can maybe make a note where you found those, what slide, what lesson you found it in. So you don't have to go back and hunt for that when you're ready to do this assignment. Step 3, you are going to find a contemporary example of your rhetorical device. So when I say contemporary, I mean an example from the last 20 to 30 years or so. Now, this doesn't mean you have to go to your library and check out a bunch of different more modern day books and read them all and find different examples. That's absolutely not what you have to do here. You can honestly just use Google here. I think you could do some online research and find some more modern day examples of the rhetorical device that you've chosen. Really, what you want to pay attention to there, though, is that it is recent. This can just be like a one-liner, like one sentence, or it can be, a couple sentences or even a paragraph from a contemporary or a modern day book. Really just make sure that your example here is coming from something that was written in the last 20 to 30 years. Now, for step 4, you are going to write an explanation or a definition for your rhetorical device. Now, you absolutely are welcome to use the definition of the rhetorical device that's found in the lessons, or you can, again, go online and find a definition or an explanation of that rhetorical device there. You just want to be sure if you're going elsewhere, you want to cite your source there, okay, so that I know where you got that information. Okay. If you have other strategies or ideas on how you identify that rhetorical device, like for example, if you have experience or a specific way that always helps you identify, for example, rhetorical questions in different forms of literature or in other contexts, then you absolutely can include that. You can include your own personal experience and what works for you there. But at bare minimum, for step 4, you need to include an explanation or a definition of that rhetorical device. Now, the very last thing you will do for this assignment is you are going to put all of this information you've collected from steps 1 through 4 together. And you can do this in a Google Doc or in a Google Slides presentation. But basically, what you're doing here is you're creating a poster for your rhetorical device. Now, just so you kind of have an idea at bare minimum what this looks like, this is not anything fancy, but I've just kind of put together in a Google Doc what all you will need to include in your poster. Now, you'll need to, of course, put the name of your rhetorical device somewhere on it. It doesn't necessarily have to be the top. You can play with the layout and the format of your poster however you would like, but you need to include the name of your rhetorical device, your definition or your explanation, and then you need those two examples, one example from the foundational texts and another more contemporary example from the last 20 to 30 years or so, right? And for those examples, if you have the name of the author and the title of the work that that example comes from, please include that. That helps me. Okay. But if you don't have that, that's okay. But I would really appreciate it if you could write that down if you have that information. Now, ultimately, this assignment, if we go back and read through this information here, this assignment really wants you to focus on your audience. This poster is meant to be for a group of high school students, so your own classmates. Think about what you would want to look at if you were in a classroom right now. Does this right here as a poster look very enticing? Does it look very interesting or like something you would want to spend some time reading or learning more about? I don't know about you, but I think it looks pretty dull. So I would definitely encourage you, after you have all of your information on your page, really play with the design. Think about the background. Feel free to go online or and find some images that represent or kind of highlight your examples or your rhetorical device. Or if you're really artistic, you can absolutely create your own. If you like doing cartoons, or if you find a cartoon that maybe represents your rhetorical device, you absolutely could include it in there. But really bring your poster to life. Make it something enticing and persuasive and something that's nice to look at, because it's really what rhetoric is all about. It's supposed to be persuasive. So think about your audience here. Think about what high school students would find interesting. Okay. So after we have completed our poster, we'll want to go up to the share settings. And we'll make sure that our share settings are set to services.live. If they are set to restricted, please change them to services.live. If it's unrestricted, I can't access your assignment. And when we've made sure of that, we can click done, and then we are ready to submit our assignment.